After nearly 6 decades of membership and amid a deepening energy crisis, the United Arab Emirates is quitting OPEC, weakening the oil cartel's control over global prices and supplies and widening a rift with Saudi Arabia. The move, described by the UAE as strategic, could free the emirate to increase output once exports via the Gulf resume, as it would no longer be governed by OPEC quotas. Well, for more, let's bring in Giacomo Luciani, an expert in the geopolitics of energy and Adjunct Professor at the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies in Geneva. Thanks so much for being with us on the programme. Firstly, Giacomo, how much of a blow is this to OPEC? Do you think it might herald the end of the road for the oil cartel and its price stabilising, production control mechanisms?
Well, it is certainly a blow to the OPEC organization, but it's not to be exaggerated because in the end, OPEC is an organization that does not have much power of its own. It's mostly Saudi Arabia as the leader that manages to impose discipline, and whether you are inside or outside of OPEC is not terribly important.
And why, just remind us, was the oil cartel formed in the first place? What are its benefits for consumers who'd normally view cartels in a negative light?
Well, the situation of the oil market has always been that potentially we have too much oil. And so if all the oil that can be produced is effectively exported and injected into the market, the price would be very low. And this is something that the OPEC, the oil-producing countries, want to prevent. And so they organize and try to manage oil production in such a way that prices will not collapse. However, when they disagree, if they cannot put their act together, so to speak, then Saudi Arabia can launch a price war, and the revenue of all OPEC producers is affected until they finally go back to Saudi Arabia and say, okay, we are ready for a new deal. That's the dynamic.
And why is the UAE exiting the group, and why is this happening now?
Well, that's an interesting question because, in effect, Abu Dhabi, even leaving OPEC, does not have the possibility of increasing its exports because at the moment the Strait of Hormuz is closed. So they cannot export more than what they export already. So I think it is a political act. It is a manifestation of dissatisfaction, of lack of friendship vis-à-vis Saudi Arabia. And there is a conflict that has been going on between the Emirates, the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia for a while now. Of course, they will deny this. They will say they are brothers, but it is only too evident that they are taking different positions on many issues of international politics.
And what kind of impact is this going to have on oil supplies and prices over the longer term? Because that's really a big question for people right around the world who are seeing inflation rise, the price of products rise across a whole range of services and products as well. So what can we expect from this in the longer term?
Yes, of course, we need, first of all, to assume that the Strait of Hormuz is reopened. And this will happen at some point. We don't know exactly when. And we don't know exactly under what kind of deal Hormuz will be reopened. But let's assume that this happens and there is a possibility of increasing exports from the Gulf. certainly the price might decline, and this might be positive for world inflation, reducing world inflation, and it might be positive for growth. But of course, not positive for all oil producers.
Giacomo, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thanks so much, though, for being with us on the programme this evening. That's Giacomo Luciani, Adjunct Professor at the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies in Geneva. Thanks so much for your time.